Hello again, everyone. I'm Jim Durrett, Mayor of Montgomery County, and bringing you another one of our series of spotlighting people in county government that really make Montgomery County the great place that it is to live, work, and play. And really today is it's a kind of a special day because when you talk about live, work, and play, you talk about all these planning things that go on and everything. But today I've got Jeff Tindall, Director of the Clarksville Montgomery County Regional Planning Commission, with us. Jeff, welcome.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for that introduction.
Yeah. You're living in a pretty busy world right now, aren't you?
When I came here in 2018, the first couple months were real nice, and it's been nothing but fast forward for the last 3.5 years here.
Well, I want to talk about some of that, but before we do that, let's figure out a little bit more, learn a little bit more about Jeff Tindall.
Sure. Just past 4 full years here back in March, so on my 5th year working with the Planning Commission. I love what I do. Just turned 44. I got a family, 6 kids, 5 boys, 1 girl. We got baby twins, and
wow.
As I said when I got here, I think I joked about life being as busy at work as it is at home. I think home has eclipsed it a little more recently since having the twins, but work has tried to keep up with that for sure. I went to Rutgers University in New Jersey where I grew up. I married a Southern girl and we kicked around the South a little bit. I've done some public sector work in planning departments, but the 8 years prior to coming here, I worked with 2 different private sector firms working with military and community relations all around the country. From coast to coast, probably visited about 14 different installations, Air Force and Marine Corps mostly, and running an Air Force Reserve Command program on encroachment, which deals with land use around the bases. So when I saw this opening here in the home of Fort Campbell, I thought it was a real good mix of my public sector experience and my private military experience, and I think it's been a good fit.
Awesome. So did you meet your wife at school?
Yes, we did. We met at Rutgers. She had just transferred into the pharmacy program, and right now she's a successful photographer and graphic artist. So pharmacy didn't stick, but she's a great gal.
Awesome. Well, I was actually part of the interview process for Jeff, and I've never told Jeff this, and probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. Number one, everybody that during the interview process was just thought your mixture of experience, especially working with military installations and communities, and that relationship obviously is here in Clarksville, Montgomery County with Fort Campbell. But when we interviewed him, everybody was talking and they were like, okay, well, let's think about it. And I was like, y'all don't need to let that guy get out of town before you make him an offer. And I think they did.
Yeah, they did. I jokingly tell people, I think the interview was planned for almost 2 hours, and I was out of there in 45 minutes. And I told my wife, I said, I don't think that went too well. They had me out of there way too soon. And then Richard Swift called me on my way back to the hotel, and the rest is history. As they say.
Awesome. So, is there a typical day in the office of the Planning Commission for Jeff Tindall?
No. I've been on the phone all morning today. That's why we started this just a little late, but. There's typical months, I think, and we kind of work in months because, as you know, most of our work is about going to the city and the county meetings to bring all the zoning and other changes to vote. So we kind of work in different weeks of the month. You know, the first week we're getting the applications, then we're reviewing the applications with our other departments. Then we're really getting down to where we are this week, which is doing the last bit of massaging with the engineers, having a lot of meetings, a lot of phone calls, trying to get the applications to a level where we can bring it to the Planning Commission next week and then the city and county afterward. Now, in between all that, sprinkle all the other good work that we do, whether it's with the census or with the voting districts, or right now we're helping the school system try to locate some new property for schools as well. Yeah.
So Jeff, I want to back up. Y'all basically took the census effort and ran with it for Clarksville, Montgomery County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did well here. There was a large push back in 2019. We at the time didn't even know COVID was going to be a thing, and we were doing well. We beat the state's effort. We beat our previous efforts of getting people to turn out for the census. It was important for us to get a good count. So the Planning Commission kind of naturally became that hub, clearinghouse for all the census information and efforts. And then naturally after that, we worked on the election districts as well because it's the same data we were working with.
And the redistricting thing was, it's just, it's not as simple as people think it is it?
No, as we say, there's a bunch of different ways to skin the cat, and you weren't going to make everyone happy. I think someone even complained to me in my office, like, why did my polling location move from right down the street to now across the county just about? And that's just how we've grown in so many different areas and so many different places, some way more than others, that in order to balance it appropriately per the state's guidelines, some hard decisions had to get made. That was a rough month there. I lost a lot of sleep when we were trying to make those happen. I remember Elizabeth would call me up and say, I couldn't get this church as a polling place, so we were back to the drawing board to try to find either a school or something else where we could get a polling location.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. I mean, you can get these districts evenly proportioned as best as you can, but if you don't have a place to vote, you basically got to start over. And when you mess with one, invariably it messes with the next one, and then this one, and then that one, and before you know, you make an adjustment, you're adjusting 5 as opposed to 1.
In the end, I know Elizabeth and I are happy the way it turned out.
I think y'all did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do. And now y'all are right in the middle of this big comprehensive plan.
Yes, that's our current ongoing efforts. Again, in the midst of our probably busiest year ever we just came off of, and it's continued well into the start of this calendar year. Our community had a land use plan from 1999. It has not been updated. So you can imagine not a lot of us are still working on our business plans or our family plans or whatever plan you have back from 1999. You've either updated and thought about it. We didn't take a lot of efforts here in the early 2000s. There was a bit of a slowdown, 2006, 7, 8, 9, where the whole country kind of didn't grow for a while. We could have taken an opportunity then to kind of recalibrate our future. We didn't. That's on my predecessors and the folks back then, but we're taking the opportunity now, even though people are like, why are you doing it now? No time better than the present. We can't really wait another year or two to do it. We need to get, what is our future? And that's not just our planning commission future, it's elected officials input, especially the citizens input, development community, business community, nonprofits, Austin P, Fort Campbell. What does everyone's future look like? And then how do we make a community out of it? And that's really what we're trying to put on paper is how do we get there for the next 20 years? Yeah.
So census, redistricting, comprehensive plan, but yet every day somebody's inquiring about rezoning a piece of property or a subdivision, or they're needing final plat signed, or they're wanting, so it's just this, taking a piece of property from rezoning to potentially convert it into a subdivision to build houses. I mean, y'all could be dealing with that for 3 to 5 years, easy, one piece of property.
Or even longer. There's a couple subdivisions up on Tiny Town Road that have been 10 or 12 years now in the making. We always joke every month, we know when the signs and the letters got out because the phone calls just start coming. And usually it's over the weekend, so we're always had a lot of calls on Monday. But those signs do get a lot of attention, and we encourage people to call us because a lot of times there's a lot of misconceptions about not only what we do, but what the neighborhood gossip is about what that landowner is going to do, and we help set a lot of that straight.
Well, and I was going to say that I think there's a lot of misperception out there about zoning, and I think y'all do such a great job of really trying to put yourselves out there to be able to answer those questions. And somebody may have an opinion or may have a perception of something that's totally wrong, but they may have a perception of something that's totally right. And I mean, y'all aren't out there advocating for or against the zoning case. You're just out there telling them what the laws are, what the rules and regulations are.
That's right. We try to tell a lot of folks, the Planning Commission has never actually zoned anything. This is in reaction to an application by a property owner or property owners. And we have to step it through the legal process that the state has laid out for us. Sometimes our staff looks at ourselves like umpires. We call balls and strikes. That's what the rules say. I don't necessarily maybe agree or disagree with the rules, but I have to do what the rules say, and the rules are put in place by the elected officials. That's how that works. We try to always answer the phone, get a live person on the phone at the Planning Commission at all times, and then a lot of times after we talk to the citizens or the neighboring property owners, they may not agree with the answer, but they're happy we took the time to explain the process, give them their options. Here's when the public hearings are, here's how you can write a letter, and then at least we've made someone at least happier when they get off the phone with us.
And you do that, all these rezoning processes go through two different legislative bodies.
That's right.
One, there, anything inside the city, and then anything outside of the city limits in the unincorporated area of the county.
Yeah, the county's been relatively quiet the last 2 or 3 months. The city though, last month, a dozen or so, and I think we got 16 this month, so.
16 zoning cases.
Yeah, so even though it may not look busy in the county, the city's been rocking and rolling the last 3 months.
Jeff, is that a sign of infill?
It's a sign of a lot of things. We're getting more and more applications from out-of-town developers. So there's definitely that attention that we thought when we were named best place to live. And then of course the census and the numbers. And then just the housing right now. We need housing just like everyone else does. And there's a lot of folks out there willing to provide it. They're not all here from Clarksville anymore. They're coming from Nashville, Brentwood, even out of state. There's properties that we didn't ever think would get looked at for many more years getting developed now.
Yeah.
And they're getting real creative. They're working with a lot of tough grades. They're extending sewers and water lines, but it's happening all over.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more you see in the city, that would be an indication of infill development, because most of these properties are less than 2 or 3 acres. We don't have a lot of 100-acre pieces of land left anymore inside the city limits.
Well, I just hear, sitting up at the planning or sitting at the county commission meetings, and when we have somebody speak against or for a zoning case, typically if they're speaking against it, you hear about, well, we're taking away all of our farms, we're doing this, why don't we do infill? We can't make somebody develop a vacant piece of property inside the city limits, and we don't want to ever prevent somebody that has a farm, if that's what they choose to do, to sell that farm. That's their right. That's their right as a landowner. They may have to get it rezoned, and then the government may be involved to some degree there, but we can't just force people to develop where we want them to and like fill up all the vacant parcels inside the city limits. We just can't do it.
I wish it worked that way, right? There's a lot of times the ownership of a property really matters. We may have family disagreements why a certain, we'll drive by a certain piece of property every day, and a lot of citizens will be like, why hasn't that developed? Well, if you get down to it, either a family can't agree on it, maybe there's an heir that can't be found. There's a lot of reasons pieces of property don't develop, and it's not necessarily due to any government regulation or not. It's just, that's the free market.
Yeah.
And that's the country we live in. So we forget that still 2/3 of this county though is agriculture. And I think everyone has this just micro view of Clarksville. Clarksville's 100 square miles. That is a big city. Mm-hmm. And though the farmland inside the city limits has been disappearing, farmland, in my opinion, belongs outside the city limits and not necessarily inside the city limits. City limits should be providing the housing, the services, all of your shopping and all that, mostly inside the city limits. Let the county be the county as long as possible, but that's not to say, and that's why we have that growth plan, there are areas of the county that have water and sewer and services and could develop. And again, it is up to the county commission ultimately on a rezoning, whether or not they agree to develop a property.
Yeah. Jeff, what are some short-term challenges that you see? And I don't really want to say for the planning commission, because I think when I ask the question to you, it's looking at the community as a whole from a planning, and what do you see short-term?
Well, short-term, the tempo's high, so we got to keep our heads above water, and we're doing a pretty good job there. Things we're looking at, the MPEC's going to be done soon, so we want to see what the impact of that is. We're all looking forward to that downtown, and then we've already started to talk to surrounding property owners about future development around that, so we think there's possibly big things in the future.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed working with Buck Dellinger and the new EDC staff. I think they have a lot of great new ideas, and not just for downtown, but for the industrial park, and we've been involved in a lot of discussions there. Short term, really, all of our waking time is spent on the comprehensive plan when it's not spent on the current planning processes that need to go on.
All of our waking time.
Yeah.
Wow. What about long term?
Long term, get the comprehensive plan done and then see what shakes out from there. It's crawl, walk, run. Right now we're in assess the community, set the vision will be this summer through the fall, and then it's the hard part. How do we get there? And that's really where staff's going to have to talk about different zones, different types of planning, different processes. How do we encourage more infill or better infill? New Providence, for example, or even Crossland Avenue, those are areas kind of close to my heart because they're the original suburbs here, and they've fallen on some tough times, but they have great bones. They have all the utilities, they have good roads, they have access to the services, access to downtown. How can we get them and breathe some life back into them the right way? And I think the comp plan is going to be a lot of that involved in how do we redevelop our core neighborhoods.
Jeff, since you've been here, I'm sure you've seen several type of different zones kind of materialize, zoning districts materialize inside of the city or the county. I mean, that's something that's always you're looking at, and you know, I think one of the things that I think people get frustrated at government about is that it's all this growth, it's all this growth, it's all this growth. And the developers, in my opinion, all they're doing is supplying a demand that's out there. And unfortunately, they're behind now, but there's so many little tweaks and things that, and you kind of mentioned it, that we can do with zoning, and we're not basically, we're not out there shaking our pom-poms saying, hey, come develop, but things that you can do that make these unique pieces of property that aren't developed, that can be developed, as opposed to going out and buying the 40 acres of farmland somewhere.
Yeah, we have a lot of small examples. You know, they're not exciting things, like you say. We don't throw pep rallies over everything we do, but we took R2 in the city and reduced the side setbacks down to 5 feet. The developers like that because we looked at the type of houses they're building and the type of lots that we require minimum lot size, and now it better aligns with what the type of homes that they're building. R6, that came on board just before I got here. That's the infill lots in the city limits, not a county zone. But we've seen more R6 applications in the last year than anything. About half of our applications the last couple months are R6 small lots, anywhere between 2,500 and 5,000 square foot lots. That's how the developers are making things affordable right now. If I could get 5 instead of 3 homes on the same piece of property, and every time we do that, that saves a little more farmland too, because we're not having to push out any further there. We've tried also,
and people are buying them. I mean,
people will buy anything right now.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of people that don't mind living in that environment.
We've shown, and this comes right from the census data, that over 26% of our population is just 1 and 2 people households. They don't want a 4-bedroom house all the time.
Right.
Some people, especially empty nesters, maybe want the ranch. Some people want neighborhoods where there's no maintenance. You know, where we're gonna have a small yard, or my yard is taken care of. So we need to start providing more of those options, whether that's incentivizing them or providing it to just make it easier through the process. You know, what can we do to help the market along to meet our needs? You know, we don't have the same needs every other community in Nashville does. Fort Campbell and Austin Peay provide such a diverse population here that we need to think about those folks as well.
Yeah. So you came here from Chattanooga. I've been asking people that I've done this interview with, what would they tell somebody about moving to Clarksville, Montgomery County? Why should they? But I want to ask you first. So you saw the job. Obviously, the job aspect of it was intriguing to you. Mm-hmm. But what about the community? What intrigued you, or what was it? All job, or was the community part of it?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I came for the interview, it was the first time I'd been to Clarksville. I'd never been north of Nashville. I enjoyed Nashville, but coming to Nashville from Clarksville was a 2.5 hour drive. And a few times we'd go to some Preds games or go to downtown and have to drive all the way home at night.
Yeah.
We saw the school system, number one, you know, again, with all those kids.
Yeah.
Not to throw Hamilton County and Chattanooga under the bus, but their school system was going in the wrong direction when we were there. And we saw the school system in the right direction. So we wanted to, looked at that first. Something I saw that really hit me, and I stayed here an extra day when I interviewed, just looked around the community. There's just a lot of pride in this community. I saw a lot of well-maintained yards, nice houses. happy folks around. We were greeted with a smile everywhere we went out in the community, whether it was out for coffee or out for dinner. Love downtown. I mean, I think that's one of the best snapshots of downtown in the state of Tennessee. And I just saw the opportunities here. I saw a town that seemed to have their stuff together, a place I could see myself living with my family. Even the realtor who showed us around the first time, she was excellent. Just a real nice, welcoming community.
Yeah.
And that kind of sold us on it.
So when you travel on vacation and you're like in another city and you see these little unique developments and stuff, does that kind of stuff intrigue you? I mean, are you is your eye always looking at something like that when you're traveling?
My wife, I think she's annoyed sometimes because I'll take the long way there. Like there's something over here I want to go see. We're gonna drive over here an extra 20 minutes so I can, and I'll take pictures of everything. I love having the cell phone camera, and I know that's why I'm trying to encourage our development community and our home builders. Y'all travel. Y'all been down to all these different places throughout the country and even international. Go and look at those places that you felt it was the best. Yeah. Try to mimic that here. There's no reason we can't. And if it's something we're doing that's in the way, come and have a discussion with us. We're definitely willing to talk and look at the rules and what's the hang up. Yeah.
Probably a tough question for you, but what's one of the most gratifying things you've been a part of since you've been director of the Planning Commission?
Ooh, that is a tough one. I mean, our fingerprints are on a lot of stuff, and I guess maybe not looking at a specific development or a specific project that's been done, but when I retire and I hope to have my career out here, I want to look back and say my fingerprints are on a lot of stuff. Yeah. This community, I helped shape multiple aspects of this community, and that's really where my success would lie. If Clarksville and Montgomery County succeed, I feel like we succeed, and that's how me and my staff look at it.
Wow, that is pretty awesome. So I didn't ask you this question, but now I got to ask it to you. So what would you tell somebody if you left here and you met a couple and started a conversation, you found out they were thinking about moving here? Why would you tell them to move to Montgomery County?
I think the quality of life's real good here. It's so relaxed. I mean, I know work's hard. Your work's hard, but it's just so enjoyable to go home at night and just enjoy the scenery around us here. Good jobs, good schools, of course, still good. So anyone who's looking for a good school system, and then I know we're not Nashville, but the proximity to Nashville is always encouraging too. I get down there maybe once a month, and it's not a bad ride. As someone told us recently, it's just a couple songs on the radio. Ain't that the truth?
Well, Jeff, is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd want somebody to know, or?
Oh, that's a good question. We're gonna have a lot of openings on the Planning Commission next year.
Well, that's true. You are, aren't you?
Yeah. With you transitioning out, and we're losing Commissioner Riccone as well because he's not running again. We're gonna need some people to step up who are willing to put in the hard work. There's a big learning curve, but we want people who are committed to going forward and making this a good place, and then really just getting involved in what we do. Have people speak up for projects, be involved in the comprehensive project that we're a comprehensive planning project that we're doing. We want to hear from the citizens. I think there's this big misconception that we don't care. We absolutely do care, but we take all voices into account. Right. And I think sometimes there's this impression that we only have to listen to the elected officials or we only have to listen to the citizens. No, we want to hear from everyone. From there, we try to strip the emotion and really look at it as almost a science. How can this community grow outside of emotion? And that's what we're trying to do.
Man, that's awesome. Y'all are doing a great job.
I appreciate it.
Thank you
for
so
your
much,
leadership,
Jeff.
sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.